I can never fully understand or look at the Israeli-Palestinian situation from the perspective the way a Palestinian or an Israeli would. And the same thing with China. I am not Chinese. I can't see the whole thing from that perspective. And I'm not African. So the only thing I can do is authentically try to be honest with what my perspective is. The new production is called The Mother of Us All, and it is the third production of a 3-year project that's called Beyond Dance, Promoting Mutual Awareness and Mutual Understanding. And the first year it focused on the Middle East, specifically the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The second year was on China, and this year The Mother of Us All is focused on Africa. There's a returning collaborator, Byron Au Yong, who's doing the music, who I worked with for the first time on Farewell, the China project. One of the things that I wanted to avoid with Africa, which I wanted to avoid with all of these projects, I think in some ways, especially given what I learned working on the first one, was to kind of avoid as many of the kind of stereotypic, kind of cliched or assumptions that people have about a place. Now, one of the things that I've been dealing with the last two pieces, with Farewell and with this one, is creating a structure that honors the complexities and the difficulties of considering all of the issues that are happening in Africa. So what I've come up with as a solution is something what I call authentic structures. And authentic structures really or make it impossible for the audience to really take in everything that's going on the stage. So that in a sense, they attempt to mimic the complexity of the issues of the place, and in some ways, like life itself, you can't know it all, you can't see it all, you can't hear it all. And that in fact, how life comes at us is that it's a kind of bombardment, and our brain kind of filters out things and then kind of decides, well, I'll remember this, I won't remember that, I'll hear this and I won't hear that. And it kind of acts as a kind of curator, you might say, of what's going on. Primarily, the idea is that the world that people will enter is not like the world that we live in normally when they're watching it. How do you prepare the audience for the sense that the piece kind of jumps around and kind of moves, kind of the logic of it is not a kind of logic that they might recognize or sense or know. It may appear not to be reasoned, how one event on the stage gets to the next or how things are connected. And it made me think of Alice in Wonderland. People always ask, well, how can a dance, and I'm saying it that way because that's the kind of intonation or sense I get from them. Well, how can a dance deal with all of that stuff? And in fact, a dance cannot really deal with that. It's not equipped to. It doesn't have the same kinds of, doesn't use the same kinds of mechanisms like language, like words, that a documentary movie would, or a book, or a paper or something, a document that would come out of a think tank. It can't deal with those kinds of things. But what it can do is that it can cause you to consider them from a kind of emotional perspective, or from a feeling perspective, or a kind of intuitive perspective. I don't want to tell people what they're going to carry out of there or what they're going to get from it. The only thing that I can say is to invite people to come in and have an experience. And then they carry out whatever it is that they carry out. Obviously, the thing is that what I want them to do while they're sitting there is, since most people don't do this, is to think about Africa. They may not have thought about Africa before they show up, and they may not think about Africa when it's done. But the point is that when you're sitting there in the theater for that hour and 15 minutes, hour 20 minutes, whatever it is, that the length of the piece, however long it ends up being, that they will be in a place where they are considering Africa. In that 1 hour, 20 minutes that I'm going to think about Africa during that time. What I invite them to do is to listen to whatever it is that's going on in their heads while they're having the experience.